Okay, so let's see. Okay, so all this stuff is on a video from last week. I think it's I sent it. I texted it to everybody. My thought here. This is cool having everybody here right now because my thought here was kind of like to see what collectively we all kind of think about all of this stuff, and kind of get up on the board like where we're at like from a process and understanding of like the step by step. So let's see, we left off like kind of consultation-y area. At the end of the consultation, you email them the health history questionnaire, and then when they come back for the assessment, the first thing we're doing is reviewing the health history questionnaire with them. And so
we go over like line by line, but not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff. But.
Yep. And then like, I guess my first like big question is like, what are the things that we're trying to like really glean from that health history questionnaire? So like when we're picking it apart, what are the first things that we want to be looking at?
Oh.
Well, definitely their goals.
Definitely the goals.
What they want to.
Yeah, injury.
You mentioned last night, I didn't want to just speak out, but you said that, first thing we should check out is definitely the injury history.
Hugely, right? Because this is the thing, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because of just my experience. I've kicked myself 1,000 times going into the reported findings, and I go into their injury history, and they're like, ankle break.
Right, like which ankle? Yeah, I did.
And I'm like, dude, like, I see like a toe thing on one side and an eversion thing on the right side, and I'm like, which one's the one? I mean, it's not a huge deal, but as you build your argument, you want to have the data from the injury history, and so that's a huge thing. Is just weeding through that and checking in with them on all the stuff. Like if they got in they're playing baseball, and they're like, oh yeah, I got a baseball to the head. And it's like, okay, well, which way did the ball come from? Did it hit them like this? And then you look at their posture, and they're standing like this, and you're like, okay, well, maybe this baseball trauma set them over here. And so, okay, hey, which way did that baseball come from? Oh, it came from the left. Okay, well, that makes sense. So maybe we're dealing with, maybe that left side bend thing is going to be a huge thing. Yeah, this happened when I was 11, and they're 52 years old. They've been like this for 40 years. Like, all right, maybe this is going to change their systems, control and output. So anyway, that's the big thing. So injury history is huge, and then you weed through everything else. The other thing I'm looking at is, like you were saying, those fundamental objectives slash kind of like the 1 to 10 goals, making sure we're aligned on that, and then also the psychological action, making sure that you're not going to go down a rabbit hole with them without potentially needing external help, like from a psychologist or somebody who could also help you out working with their system. Because I've worked with people before and realized that without changing the brain chemistry component, body mechanics don't really change.
So are you seeing this like maybe off like a traumatic injury where it's something, then when they start working on it, you're going to bring up some traumatic stress and stuff like that?
Could be that, or could be emotional stuff, like emotional stuff that's resulting in physiological responses too.
Okay.
So those kinds of things. I mean, we have a good toolbox: breath training, talking intra-session, client crying on the table. Like those things are really helpful for managing this stuff. But then there's also, I mean, there is a point where this exceeds our scope of practice, for sure.
Yeah, we're not psychologists.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, it's good to have some good people that we can refer to. And so anyway, that's kind of the big three. There's obviously there's way more you got to be aware of. Blood pressure, cardiovascular, historical heart disease, stroke, those kinds of things. If they have high blood pressure or if they're at risk of stroke, you don't want to do high intensity isometrics with that person because you don't want to stroke them out on the table, which can totally happen. So, it hasn't, thank God, but I mean, that's definitely.
So what do you do in that situation then?
Yeah.
I would not do metrics with that person. Yeah. And, and make sure, I mean, if they're on blood pressure meds and everything's managed and they're good and, that's a situation where, like, if they have fairly high blood pressure, you might want to, have them reach out to their doc or we reach out to their doc and go, hey, are they cleared for exercise? So that would
That's
be
crazy. I never even thought about that.
So then, but like
isometrics and blood pressure.
like a little bit of myo though would be okay.
Mhm.
Just
Yep.
because that's them moving.
Moving through. They're
they
not
can stop them. They can stop themselves if they have to.
For sure.
Okay.
Yep. And like in a situation like that where you're looking at like, okay, this person does have risk of stroke, and they have a history of family strokes. That's something that you're just going to be considering constantly when working with them on the table is managing that.
Okay.
So
That's how Paul's stroke happened, was after weight training.
right, bench press or something like that. He was like
He didn't say much
PR.
specifically.
I think he was like PR in the bench or something like that. Just popped him. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
With a known high blood pressure.
He knew it wasn't managed under
Yeah.
meds, he wasn't taking the right meds.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was diagnosed.
So just that straining, it's because you shut off oxygen to your brain a little bit at some point when you're pushing that hard.
It's shut off, but I think it also it's brain bleeding. Right?
Is that what it
it's
is?
hemorrhaging.
Oh right, because
I'm
it's
pretty sure I'd have
It
to.
happened many different ways.
Yeah. So
or is it too much blood to your head? Because I don't know that feel. I know that feeling that we're talking about, but I'm not at risk of any of
Yeah,
that, so I don't.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
I never thought of it in
Yeah.
this sense, but I know
Yeah,
that
'cause
feeling
it's
where my head literally when I'm pushing.
Right.
Literally, I
Go-
feel like my head
for sure.
expanding.
Yeah. So imagine your head already being there.
Yeah.
And then. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's like popping a balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say probably too much
Too much blood makes more sense.
More likely. Yeah.
Too
Yeah.
much
Be a
blood.
clot
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be a clot too. Yeah.
bleed.
So, I mean, there's more to the health history questionnaire, but the idea is review this with them, make sure you cover it in good detail so that you have vision, they have vision, and you guys kind of have vision as a team moving forward on what they have going on and what you need to do. With the assessment, I mean, the things I'll say, obviously we could review step by step how to do the assessment, but I don't think we need to do that at this point. But I think the things to keep in mind with the assessment, we're trying to build rapport with the client and we're trying to comfortably ease them into this process. And so following the steps is really important, doing it in the order that we have set up. The big rationale for at least the very beginning of this is, taking their blood pressure, getting their hand. Let me have your hand. I got you. We're a team. This is like a non-invasive way to start going. Take their blood pressure, or take their heart rate manually, even though you can do it on the blood pressure cuff. And it's this let me build rapport with this person. Let me ease them into this. And then, it's a kind of a step-by-step thing of a little invasive. Okay, let me get the blood pressure. Make sure the arm is at 90 degrees. Okay, now I'm a little closer. Okay. Now I'm doing all this stuff. Here we go. I'm in the in the thing with this person. So it's being aware of building this rapport slowly with the person instead of immediately going for a groin anthro, or something of circumference. So
Read 'em.
yeah. So
That deep gluteal fold
right,
there.
exactly. So anyway, that's the idea with moving methodically through the process with the assessment. Is there anything in regards to the assessment that we want to cover before we go into this stuff, which is kind of the route I wanted take, because the assessment is pretty straightforward as far as what to do.
It's laid out. pretty
Yeah, I
Collect
like how
the
it's laid
data.
out in like the consultation. Once we're in the assessment, we're like, phew.
Yeah.
We're like in the water,
Here we
right?
go.
Like
Yep.
we're going.
Yep.
I still think that just after doing assessments with you and just the ones that I've been doing too, just having a real good idea of what we're looking for.
Yep.
I have seen over the last 3 months that my flow is better,
Yep.
and I'm not like, oh my God, are they translated?
Yeah.
Is that rotation?
Not
And what does it
overthinking.
mean? And
It's funny. I had to, just to like bounce off that, I had a crazy dream last night. It was super weird. I was talking with Trevor Cash. Because like these guys are, I mean, they're like they're like mover guys,
Yeah.
right? They're like, you know, their whole world is like flow and
They're like monkey men.
monkey man, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so weird. I woke up this morning, I was like, what the fuck? But I was like talking with Trevor about Trevor going to Trevor's gym with his brother, learning to do an assessment. I don't know what was going on this morning, but anyway, I was talking with Trevor about Trevor talking with Trevor about a 1, 2, and a 3 ranking scale on their assessment, and he was like, don't overthink it. He was like, don't overthink the 1, 2. This is how deep I am in this shit. I don't know what I'm dreaming about. But like, I woke up this morning kind of reflecting on that. Maybe this is cool to just be talking to you guys about it. Like, don't fixate. And I think that's what I took away from the conversation I had with Trevor in my dream. Was like, I was gonna text this morning, but like let it flow. Like let this assessment thing flow.
Yeah.
Don't get bindy in, because you'll shut off these creative brain processes and
One
thought
thing
processes.
I took, and I remember Greg saying in the course,
Yeah.
was kind of similar to that. He
Yeah.
said, don't get fixated on it. Either you see it or not. Spend
Yeah.
a couple seconds,
Yep.
because there's always a chance to see it again and be like,
Right.
oh, I missed that. Let's maybe
happens-
like.
Yeah, no nitpicking.
What's
Yeah.
tricky though, because
Yeah.
it's not nitpicking, but it's like keeping track of what you see, because does it make sense when you go further down? You know, like
Yeah.
that's like the
Yeah.
fine art of it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
I
I
want
agree.
to like, I really want to know what I'm seeing, because then when I go back and I look at the other side view, and
Yeah.
I'm like, does that thoracic rotation make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and I don't want to go back, and so by the
Yeah.
time I'm actually doing an assessment with somebody,
Yeah.
we're in the water and they're
Yeah.
paying. It's like I want to have that.
But I agree 100%, and I think the thing is like while you're doing this thing,
Yeah,
and you like look at a hip, well, you're flowing, but like if you look at a hip and you're like, okay, like rotate in, it's like, okay, I don't know, like maybe, okay, 3, and
Yeah.
just go. Right, like don't go like, okay, let me do this 25
Yeah.
times and assess
Make
pelvis
sure it's a
and
3 or a 2.
Let me get my
Yeah,
tape measure and
yeah, right. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing I'm talking
Yeah.
about. It's just
Yeah.
like don't overthink this stuff, because then you'll start getting yourself just all noodled
Don't
out.
beat the dead
yeah.
horse with it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's my weird
Can you
dream
say
for
like
guys.
the frequency of your, like when you find PTSD in people or whatever?
So you miss Trevor, you're saying? Sorry.
I do miss him.
Sorry, Christine.
No, that's okay. I'm just curious what the frequency is with you and your clients up to date, like how often.
Oh
you
man,
have, like,
I don't
emotional-
know. I mean,
Like something just triggers, 'cause I mean, I've had it multiple times myself.
yeah.
And it's-
I don't know. I'd say probably like 5%, 5 to 10%.
So not a lot, but it happens.
Yeah. But the 5 to 10% is massive. I mean, there's been some super crazy stuff that I've seen in here. So, it's not.
having that skill set to deal with it.
Yeah,
and-
definitely. And that's when this IR thing comes into play. And that is, I can't reinforce that enough. Like, I actually took it off of our data sheet, but for the first 3 years of this, I could go back to our original ones. In the top right hand corner, I have check in with your IR. Are you good? Don't do this session if you're not good.
Mm-hmm.
and you know I should probably put it back on there.
You
But
should.
What if you just
I'm
want to
not
come
saying
and
that
just
wouldn't
sit
be
down
good,
and
but
cry
just
with
a
your
reminder
client?
to be like,
So what if you
Are
want to
you
just
in
sit
the
down and
role?
cry with your
yeah,
client?
right.
You
Yeah,
know?
but then they're paying
I
you to
know,
cry
just
with you. No, I
joking.
know, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
this is a
check in with
reminder.
your shit, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
make
How
sure.
are you today?
Yeah,
Remember what you're here for.
yeah, exactly. Put on your hat.
And that's
Put
what
on your MSS
planning your
hat.
day and be like, okay, I got
Yep.
so and so
Yep.
today, can I handle
Yep.
this? And
Yep.
that's okay.
So that's that's something that is huge. You have to be in a good space and clear, non-biased, not living in your worldview as far as like what's right and wrong, but just being an MSS. I mean, this is why somebody that isn't here working here didn't work out here is because his religious viewpoints were getting in the way of him working with clients. Meaning there were things that anyway, so yeah, we're on YouTube right now. I'm not doing that, but yeah, I mean that was a big reason why he's not here is because he couldn't stop pushing
His beliefs on other people.
Yeah. Which is not what we're here to do. We're not here to, I mean, it's so tough because, like, there are certain things we want to push on people. Like, I mean,
We're not here to have.
We're here for them at this point. They're paying us.
We're not painting into their picture.
not with that, right? We're not here to push our agenda.
No,
we're
not
here
at
to
all.
bolster their nervous system and muscular system. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's all I'll say about
And on
that.
the flip side to that, like, it's also really cool to go in and just be able to, like, let everything else go and be super focused.
Yeah, this is what I love doing. I mean, this is like flow state. Every single day, I just come in here. I'm like,
Yeah.
here we go.
It's a good place to just
Yeah.
leave the outside world behind
Yeah,
and just.
seriously. Yeah. So, yeah, that's an important thing to keep in mind, and yeah, and I mean, this is the thing, like political beliefs, all of those things. Like, somebody will be in here saying something about something, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never pushing anything on anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, okay, yeah.
Stroke, nurture, and
Yeah,
reverse.
Yeah. So anyway, that's down there. That's deep into the weird stuff, but
Well,
it's important to keep that in mind.
yeah, I mean that's after the RLF, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's good to know.
So, any other things on the assessment?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So, what I will say with the assessment is just do as many as you can, especially for everybody. But for you guys, just get going on them. Let's get bodies in here and just dink around with it.
It's just slow. I mean, what's the goal was an hour 45?
No,
Like a full
I get
assessment?
the full assessment done in 2.5 hours because I
2.5.
spend about 30 to 40 minutes on the health history questionnaire. Which is Greg gets his done in like an hour.
So about 2 hours of body touching.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Half hour.
Yep. I mean, yeah, body touching and moving and doing stuff. Yeah, that's what I set aside for the assessment is 2.5 hours,
Okay.
and most of the time I use all of it. So, but depending on allostatic load, you might only do 8 range of motion assessments, then you're done. So.
Right. Yeah. If it's
So it just depends. Yep. And also if they have a low load and you're like, dang, I could do 95 range of motion assessments, maybe don't do them all.
you kind of look at a specific
And that's the critical thinking component is like, man, I think there's a pelvic thing. I'm gonna check the 90-90 hip things to see if the pelvic thing gets impacted or if the pelvic thing impacts the hips. So, building that toolbox of like, okay, what does connect, where are the correlating components from the range of motion assessment,
Mm-hmm.
and that just comes from practice and like watching the assessments on the YouTube and us doing them and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
That's helpful. I like that. Just because you can or they can doesn't mean you have to do all
For
90
sure. Yep.
and you can just.
Yeah, it could be like every time I spin this way it hurts, so you need to start doing PVA or rotation. And
exactly.
Check the,
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Makes more sense.
Do you want, is there anything on the report of findings part? Like, I mean, we talked about that a lot this morning.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. That's what I was kind of saying. Like that. This is.
Like the key part, like, I didn't take notes on that, and I know we're like recording it and stuff, but we record that stuff, so I just wondered if like.
Yeah, no.
Writing down a couple of.
I really think like I said, this is kind of perfect. We covered it. It's just not recorded now, but we covered it in really good detail. I mean, because
it's blueprint first. I mean, or are you not as?
No, blueprint first.
Yeah.
And then use the blueprint to generate the report of findings. In the blueprint, there's that little box at the top, the hypotheses. So you use the report of findings, kind of start throwing your hypotheses out there.
I think it could be this, and
yep.
this.
And then what I usually do is in the hypotheses area, I start marking a 1. I think 1 first, 2 second, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then figure out how to put that in the report of findings.
You have a really good video. I don't know if he was like online with you or you
going
were in
over
person,
it.
you're just how you get yourself oriented onto the blueprint and just what you write down first and so.
Nice, okay. It's
really
probably
helpful.
in the report of findings section, I'm assuming, yeah. Yeah, I feel like we covered a lot of that. Make sure you're aware of fundamental objective, make sure you make sure you have rationale for everything you're doing. That's kind of, that's really the big check boxes, and then everything we talked about earlier. I don't really have much more there, other than, do you guys feel good about generating a report of findings? Was the big question I wanted to ask. Is like, do you feel like that's something that you're? It sounds like, after chatting today, things are much more clear. So you kind of answered the question of like, okay, there's some gaps, but
yeah, I feel like I can definitely now that I've done a couple more recently on my own.
Yeah,
I think I got at least something. I'm still like a little bit like unlike that, like guessing how much weeks it's gonna take to cover this material. I think that's the thing I need to just go through clients and see how much of my time it takes.
And like with that kind of stuff, when you're generating a report of findings, let's put our heads together and do that stuff. Like I said, shared files, that's the best way.
Yeah.
I would just get, right now, because you guys are just kind of doing like mock clients and I haven't really sent you people, it's not like on my end, like kind of a requirement to like make sure that the person who's paying us is getting it. But still, like, get in the habit of just sharing every single file with me if you feel comfortable with it.
Comfortable asking you the questions.
Well, yeah, because that's the best way. I can just hammer through that really fast and like just and look.
So,
yeah.
Like when you're starting the report of findings, okay, we can share it with you, we can get feedback, but as we go to do this, it's like taking like the nitty gritty and making a bigger picture of it. Fundamental objectives are super important.
Huge.
Like where we're gonna start, where is this person's first session, like what that's gonna look like. So their fundamental objectives, and then our findings and our expertise or whatnot. So like maybe their 1s, their 2s, kind of like meshing those two things, like what they're trying to get at, and then what we're seeing that are like big things, like the 1s and the 2s.
Well, and it's not
posture or range of motion.
And just keep in mind that the 1s and the 2s are their data points for a bigger picture. Yeah. So the 1s aren't the answer. The 1s are a data point leading to a hypothesis that you're going to test intra-session to then confirm or deny if that's actually where we need to go, right? You can see a 1 and go, this 1 is the thing, and then all of a sudden it's a knee, right? So just keeping in mind that we're looking for corroborating data, not
Right. So like
singular
what you
data.
were
We
talking.
can use them to
Yeah.
like do things, but
Yeah.
it's like that's
Yeah.
not necessarily where
Yeah.
we're starting.
So
It's
like you're
just,
saying, so like for Bob, his
parameter.
one would have been his back, but then you found out.
Yeah, it was like, oh,
It
dude,
was
your
the
knee is
knee
definitely
action.
the
Okay.
thing.
So it's like
Yeah. And when present, you know, this is, I guess, this is perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to the report of findings now, which is, you know,
presenting
the report of findings, not just generating it. And with the presentation of the report of findings, when I'm talking about stuff that we're looking at, and we can go through this next time because I think this is probably a pretty extensive conversation we can have. And maybe you can watch on the YouTube. There is a report of findings. I think a couple of them that I've done. But the idea is showing them hot spots, showing them this corroborating information, and showing them the connections that you're seeing, and then bringing them to your report of findings and saying, this is why I'm doing this with you. So here's the blueprint. Look at this weird stuff. Look at your body twisted this way. Look at your inability to rotate your spine the other way. This is what I think we need to do with your body, and then does this make sense to you? And I mean, you on these report of findings videos, you hear me say, does that make sense? Like 7,000 times, because I'm not spewing at them. I want them to really understand and internalize what I'm gonna do with them.
So on that note, like, does this make sense to you? Because sometimes I don't feel like people are really ready to get the education that we're ready to give them.
Yeah, and I just start fire hosing
like,
them. Because it's the time, right? Like we've done the we're doing a thing. Like, do you want to come in and do an assessment? And then like they come in and we do the assessment and they're like, holy shit, this was a lot. And then you're like, this is why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the stuff, man.
We're getting all the information.
Yeah. And you know, you just.
Yeah, I think that's like the consult. Another like kind of like trickle back up to the consultation. You know, like, this isn't a quick fix. This is like a lead out.
And I you know, and I would go the route, instead of like, you know, pushing that this isn't a quick fix, being like, hey, I think it's going to take this long.
Yeah.
Like, so that you're not in this like.
Yeah, but I guess I was saying, like, in the consultation, if you know somebody's just like, yeah, it's my knee, just come on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because then you get to the report of findings. I feel like I've watched some people that I'm practicing with just be like, they kind of just like, nah, what are we doing? Like, okay, that's what you saw. See you tomorrow.
I'll be back.
See you
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow, and I'll be back for what time? What time? do you want to do?
10? Or, I don't know what you
saying
said.
from 10 to 11.
Okay, 11 to
Anything
12.
after 11, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be back for Steve, and we're gonna do a session.
Awesome,
So
man.
I'll see you
Okay,
then.
sounds good.
It's just one of those are you in the right place?
Yeah, and you know, to think about that in terms of, you know, the quick fix factor, it's like, hopefully you didn't do the assessment if they're looking for a quick fix.
Right.
So hopefully you vetted them out of our process if they're knee. You know, you've made that really clear that we're doing a thorough assessment of your body, methodically going through and bolstering control, range of motion to mitigate, you know, and manage for your pain responses, and, you know, bolster your system.
So that's one of the first first questions, like, are you here for a quick fix? And you'll go through and be like, hey, I saw that you're here for a quick fix. And if you can't change their mind, then
and they're like, oh, this isn't working for me. Okay, cool. Well, go. Griffith Loma is a great chiropractor. You can try and, you know, go do that. They might quick fix you. You know. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, come back.
Yeah.
You'll be like, oh wow, look, that's how this person did it. Be like, oh wow, look, that's how this person did it. Like when I think Eli and I both did like jazzes the end of the year, and I came back in and I was like, oh, isn't that funny? Like just how mine looked compared to Eli's, who had been practicing and doing it more, and also like jazzes.
So you took the same data and then you compared?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's science.
you know, what we So what we could do is, I mean, on the whiteboard out there, we could just start a section of like report of findings, and you could start writing names of people that you're doing, and then share those files with everybody. and or you could just drop it in the internship. I could create a new folder called report of findings or something like that, and we can explore those, or we could figure out a bunch of ways to do this, but figuring out we could use these times, but processing the report of findings is huge, getting comfortable with that. And then, that goes into the decision-making component, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that you've probably had people just kind of be like, oh wow, cool, you're telling me all this stuff about my body and what you found, but they're like, yeah, cool.
No, I usually don't let that fly. Yeah. I don't let that fly, right? Yeah. So if they're like, yeah, whatever, I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we're gonna talk about this stuff so you understand what's going on. I want to educate you on what is going on in your body. So you
use that moment, like in the report of findings, like you've got them, you're on the same page, in the right place, and then at the report of findings, you're kind of like, so this is really important that you understand this, like going forward, I really want you to have a good understanding of what we're doing in here.
Yes.
Like this is very important.
100%.
The communication that we need to have.
Yes.
And you're going to give me better feedback if you really understand.
Yes.
Like what's happening.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Yeah. And it's important. That's why I'm up in their business. Like I'm not sitting back here showing it to them. I'm sitting next to them.
Yeah.
Like this, hunched over, pointing stuff out.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like I think because I'm practicing with people, so they're not like expecting a whole lot, or they have like no idea what this is really about, or if they're also just kind of like, yeah, all right, I don't know if it's the timely thing, or they seem irritated, or if it's just like they've never had anybody really like do this with them. It
could be also like the sequence of events getting to that point too, like. Like, you're finding flow, you're finding your way, so like, it's not like it's been like a seamless, I'm at this point, it's not quite seamless yet, right?
Yeah.
Because you're still kind of clinking and dinking around a little bit with stuff, but that's the thing is like when they get the whole process, when they get the whole package, and they're like in here, emails, consultation, thorough review, health history questionnaire, big time assessment, boom, efficient, good, go home. Here's your email explaining what the report of findings looks like. They come back in, report of findings, they're sitting down and they're like, what's next?
Yeah, because they know what's happening.
They know what's going on. This is why I created this email system,
Do we have that yet?
Okay. It's done. I just need to get on I haven't, whatever.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, so I need to get on a call with Clavio to make sure that I'm going to be able to integrate this in for everybody. And that's the thing I haven't had a moment to do yet. So all the emails are built and done.
Okay, cool.
It took me like 2 months to integrate all the new emails in.
Well, now your time's freeing up a little bit.
It is. No, it is. This is, whatever, for the end of time, I'm like back in it. It's all done. So moving that equipment was like the last thing. So I'm like,
you guys got that?
That was fun.
We
10:30 at night trying to unload.
On Sunday?
No, Monday. Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
shit, 'cause
Monday.
your U-Haul was.
So yeah, we got. Yeah, I got home at like 11:45.
Jeez, oh yeah,
because I had to go drop the
hand jack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me and Mike almost died one time. This big 1,000-pound machine almost toppled on us. That was fun.
Trying to get it up the ramp.
You're like, sure, you tested your strength. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Guys.
So yeah, we moved like 25 pieces of equipment.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the last thing. So I'm in. I feel like I just cleared out like 900 terabytes of storage.
Right. Yeah, you're not thinking now. That's on autopilot basically. You've got all that dealt with and.
Yeah. So
that's good.
So anyway, I'm here for what we need to do to get this thing done and get rolling, and all I can say is just keep practicing and try and get bodies on, and
right.
So yeah.
And
just keep the text thread going, and like let's just keep dialogue rolling, and
We're a family
Susan's
now.
like, I've never had such a detailed.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Well, that's the whole point of this. Yeah, most I
Yeah.
and nobody does this.
So. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And that's why it's so.
Give me your
awesome.
number if you want some work at my house for August.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, my number's in here, but yeah, I'll give
Maybe after his assessment.
it's the 572.
Great.
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't have your
Well, next
name
week, that's-
associated
that's-
with your number in
next
the
week,
text.
yeah.
So.
Are we on?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay.
I'll text you I forgot to text a specific day, but I said Monday, Tuesday was
Monday,
better.
Tuesday,
But
so either Monday or Tuesday.
and then you
next
gave me
week.
choices. I can't remember, but I'll have to see what those choices were.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, you said Tuesday, so Tuesday does work for me.
Okay.
Good.
On
I'm
Monday.
excited to do the
So, yeah,
remote findings,
perfect.
like colored
Yeah.
pens and arrows.
Oh yeah.
It'll be fun.
Cool. Boom. Mind up.
love it. Oh.
Yeah, so we can go more in depth on reported findings next time, or
Alright, see ya.
bye.
Bye, Eva.
Yeah, we,
maybe just like check back on this and then
yeah, and then you
Move
go
forward.
to, yeah.
Decision making, that's really.
Yeah, I think that's
needed to
really
be
where
there
we need to
today.
go. What's that?
I needed to be there today, but that's okay.
Good.
I can be there
circle job?
tomorrow.
The what?
Your money circle?
Change.
Dude, I